Hi everyone, today we are going to make bibingka. It's a traditional Filipino rice cake that's normally cooked in clay pots and coals. But instead of using just plain rice, we are going to add purple yam, or what we call ube in the Philippines. The traditional way of making a rice cake in the Philippines is by soaking your rice overnight in water, and when you wake up in the morning, you're going to grind it in a grindstone, but we don't have a grindstone here in the States, so we're going to use a blender and blend it with coconut milk, sugar, a little bit of salt. Bibingka in the Philippines is usually topped with salted duck egg. It's red because they color it red so they can distinguish it from a regular duck egg. Once your bibingka is done, it's usually served with margarine or butter. This is going to be a semi-traditional version of bibingka, where instead of using rice flour, we're going to use a regular rice. We're going to soak the regular rice in water overnight, and we're going to have it pureed in a blender with 4 cups of coconut milk. We're going to use 4 cups of soaked rice, and we're going to cook this with 4 cups of coconut milk, around a cup and a half of sugar. It depends on how you like your rice cake. If you want it less sweet, you can add 1 cup. If you want it more sweeter, you can add a cup and a half or 2 cups of sugar. And then we're gonna add a teaspoon of salt. It's going to give that balance of flavor, so it's not just plain sugar. Some recipes call for 2 to 3 to 4 cups of sugar, and that's because they don't add salt. If you add salt, it's going to make it sweeter, so you can add less sugar. It's a little trick for your taste buds. It's going to confuse them. They're going to taste the salty, and then they would decide if it's salty, and then they would taste the sugar again, and then they would decide it's sweet. Is it salty or sweet? Is salty or sweet? At the end, it's going to be sweet because there's more sugar. We're just going to blend this until it's nice and smooth, and then it's done. Usually in the Philippines, we would use a grindstone where you have to use your arms to rotate 2 plates of heavy stones to grind grains, which I think is from China. They also have bigger versions where they grind millet to make buns, but instead of using your arm, they use donkeys or horses to rotate the big plates. So to this, we're gonna add 14 ounces of pureed ube and baking powder. So the rule of thumb for baking powder is usually 1 teaspoon for every cup of starch, and we have 4 cups of rice and around 14 ounces of ube. So we're gonna add 5 teaspoons of baking soda. We're also gonna add 4 eggs. So we're gonna beat them together and add it in the mixture, and after that, it's done. The hard part is over. Actually, you can simplify this by just using the rice, coconut milk, and a little bit of sugar, because many months ago we don't really use eggs, or sometimes people add salt. People add melted butter into this. You don't need baking soda, but baking soda is kind of my insurance because I don't know. I put a little bit of pureed ube, and ube doesn't really rise, so it's kind of an insurance. This is normally baked in a clay pot lined with banana leaves. So we have bibingka is usually sold on the street. It's some kind of a street food in front of the church during Christmas, or sometimes Filipinos would make it on the street for extra income. So we don't have banana leaves right now. So what we did is we just buttered a cast iron pan and a loaf pan, and that's it. Super easy. Traditionally, it's baked by placing the pot on top of coals or wood fire, and then by covering it with another clay pot, and by putting more coals on top of the container. But today we're gonna bake it in the oven, 375 degrees, for 20 minutes at first, and then we're gonna add our toppings. Toppings is usually processed cheese and salted egg. So we're gonna cut strips of processed cheese. You can use cheddar, or you can use any kind of cheese that melts easily, like Gruyere or whatever you like. This is salted egg, Don't do this at home, kids. So if you are not familiar with salted eggs in the Philippines, salted duck eggs or chicken egg in the Philippines is usually cured with a mixture of mud, sea salt, and water. So usually the eggs would be buried in salty mud for a few days, and then it's gonna be boiled and colored red to distinguish it from other eggs. It's almost like making cheese out of the protein inside the egg. And actually, it tastes and smells like cheese too. But you know, cheese smells like the angel's feet, and salted egg smells like the devil's feet. Just kidding. They're both angel's feet. They both smells like angel's feet. So after 20 minutes in the oven, we're gonna put the toppings, and after this, we're gonna bake it for 25 to 30 more minutes, or until, you know how you test some cakes, you insert a toothpick in the middle, and when it comes out clean, it's done. We are gonna add this with softened butter mixed with a little bit of sugar. It's 1-to-1 ratio, and you are basically done. Enjoy. But as I've said before, it's so much better when you have banana leaves because it gives it a nice flavor too. And if you're not familiar with ube is purple yam, but it looks a little bit like sweet potato and it tastes a little bit like sweet potato. Don't confuse it with purple potato. We have purple yam in Asian grocery stores. It tastes a little bit like taro. It tastes a little bit like sweet potato, but it's a little different, but it's kind of the same. So it's kind of it's confusing, but whatever. Thanks for watching my vlog. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye bye.